All right. This is Minutes with Melon. I'll watch a really long video, break it down to a couple minutes. Have you heard of phase 2 for all the illegals coming over into our country? Yeah. Yeah, you gotta hear this. Rutro.
CHNVs, okay? They are now saying that those individuals from those countries that have been paroled into America are now legal residents and can bring all their family members in just from those nations. However, there's a cutout that says those illegal aliens from those CHNVs can sponsor people or family members despite them being from other nations. Meaning, if I'm from Venezuela, but my family members from Iran, I can bring that person in from Iran. I'm not subject to that. What's even more malicious is the USCIS has now designated temporary protective status (TPS), DACA recipients, and deferred enforced deportation, which is DED. Those people under those blankets, those are all temporary 18-month, you can stay in America. They've deemed them as legal residents as well. Why? Let me give you an example of how devious this is. 2 weeks ago, President Biden did an executive order and gave deferred enforced deportation coverage to 6,000 Palestinian illegal aliens. 6,000 illegal aliens from Palestine here in America now are forbidden from being deported. They cannot be through deportations. Those 6,000 can now petition for all their family members living in the Gaza and in Palestine into America.
So what you're saying here is that all of these all of these now parolees can sponsor up to 4 illegal immigrants per people. So if we're talking 10 million people have come into the United States, and I know your numbers in the book, I mean, it's just staggering how many people are already here. That basically could add an additional 40 million people into the United States.
Yes, but let's hold on one second, just so you understand. In the old system, if I wanted to sponsor someone, I had to fill out a government form I-134. It's a declaration of financial support. So I could only maybe bring in one person, maybe my father or my brother, because I only had the financial support to bring in one person. Well, DHS now said, hey, you don't have to provide that form anymore. Because the first question people should ask is, how is an illegal alien from Sudan that's living in the detention facility or a hotel, a Comfort Inn in Boston, Mass, how are they going to provide support for family members? Well, the DHS now claims that all the NGOs, starting with Catholic Charities, they can be the sponsors, the financial sponsors. So instead of bringing just my brother over, I can bring my father, my mother, my brother and sister. I can bring their children. I can bring their spouses. I can bring grandma and grandpa, because there's no limitation on my financial support. The NGOs are now the backstop for that.
So I was going to ask you how the Catholic Charities fits into this. So these NGOs are being paid for by the Biden administration in order to facilitate this. They're making enormous amounts of money. And this is how the Biden administration gets away with it, right? They can pass it off to non-government organizations. So it's not the Biden administration. Yes. It's these private organizations. It's these 503c, whatever, charities, etc. So who is the Catholic Charities? What do they do?
Catholic Charities goes Catholic, and I'm very aware Catholic Charities is tied at the hip with the Catholic Church. That's probably, if I had to say, their main thrust in their settle refugees. Now, that's not refugees like you and I think about back in the day, like people from Cambodia. We're talking about anyone that's illegal is considered a refugee. Let me explain how much money. Since 15 years prior to Biden taking office, Catholic Charities have received $3.5 billion from the U.S. government. 3.5 billion. Estimates now say by the time Joe Biden took office to now, that they've received another $3 billion. So we're encroaching on $7 billion. So when I tell you that the NGOs, be it United Way, Jewish Family Service, Lutheran Family Services, and all the hundreds of mom and pops, like literally mom and pops, we're paying taxpayer money to the NGOs. The NGOs are now using that money to bring illegal aliens into our country that are sponsored by them. By Catholic Charities becomes the sponsor of millions. So Clayton, so your audience understands. So I bring in my father, my mother, my brother, and sister. Well, once they get in, they turn around and they say, well, I need my spouse and my kids, and I need my grandma and grandpa. I need my aunts and uncles. So that 1, 2, 3, 4 turns into 10, 15, 20 relatives. And here's another sick thing that you need to understand, or I'd like you to understand. I worked 24 years in the Border Patrol. I have Social Security. You're a working man. You're pouring into Social Security. You got truckers, 30 years, construction workers, nurses, stockbrokers, whatever. When I bring in my illegal alien grandma that's never worked a day in her life, do you know that she gets the maximum Social Security benefit payout?
What?
So she'll get more money than me? Yes,
What?
absolutely. So when we're doing COLA, cost of living increases for our grandmas and grandpas that are living paycheck to paycheck, and we're giving them a COLA increase of 1.5% or 0%, the illegal alien grandma from Sudan and Mexico, wherever on the planet Earth, she gets more money than the person that's worked her whole life.
I mean, this is infuriating. I mean, is she given a social security number? How is this possible?
Yes, they all get Social Security numbers because once they come in, they become legal residents. They will get a Social Security number. They can work. And you say, well, I want them to work. Well, yeah, I want them to work too. But let's take an example from the little town in Iowa 2 weeks ago that has 8,000 residents. 1,200 of those residents work at Tyson's meatpacking plant. They got fired, and Tyson meatpacking plant replaced all 1,200 with refugees.
Jeez.
So that small town has been devastated, will never recover.
Yo, what the fuck is going on? So, say 10 million came across, and each one has a fucking relative. Do the math. That's scary.